Whoa, for the longest time. Whoa, for the longest time. If you said to me tonight, ooh, would there still be music left to write? What else can I do? I'm so inspired by you. I haven't been there for the longest time. What's going on, everybody? We got fish in my mind for the longest time. Whoa. How are we doing? I was thinking about click pens and how when I was younger, I'll just say that I was in a position that was not. Well, this sounds off. Why does this all sound off? Hold on. Let's see here. See if this sounds better. And hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Does that sound a little bit better? Better. Well, it's only coming in one headphone now, so I don't know if that's what's going on. What? Oh no, it's directional. That's what's going on. Don't like that. Don't like that one bit. No, that's. Oh, is this better? Is this better? Is this better? Hello? That might be better. All right, I think that's better. Oh, we got a super chat coming in right off the bat. Thank you so much, my kind sir. MT, Montana Coiner, or Mountain Coiner, or MT. Maybe your name is Matthias Athuzala. But hello and welcome to Celebrity Jeopardy. It's a big hat. It's funny. But yeah, how are we doing, guys? Friday the 13th makes it the safest day in the universe for me, because statistically every day my luck is just utter crap, and for health things, right? Like random health things. So I think Friday the 13th is like the one day nothing could happen, because everyone would be like, that's too spot on, that's just not gonna happen. So I feel like today's the day I go like roller skate in the buffalo herd. But I've been told you can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. You can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. Anyways, how are we doing, Lisa the Wolf? You doing good? I hope you're doing good. Gilstow Gardens, hello, and also MT Montana, right on. I got it right off the bat. Montana Coiner, what's going on? And again, thank you for the super chat, and welcome to the membership. Ship. We will ship you to a land of your dreams. We will ship you to fish. We will ship you to 200 extra audio episodes that now will appear in a playlist that you didn't see before. And there's also a bunch of posts in the community post section that you couldn't have seen before. And yeah. No, I really I did not. Nobody tried to roller skate in a buffalo herd other than maybe Roger Miller. There's a song that he did. He's the guy who does King of the Road, which is a well-known song, older song. But he's also done some funky songs like Chug-a-lug, make you wanna holler, hidey-ho, burns your tummy, don't you know? Chug-a-lug, two whiskeys in a mason jar that we got after show. We're gonna drink them down. Here we go. Chug-a-lug. He does like folksy American stuff. But one of his songs is about roller skating in a buffalo herd. But you can do it if it makes you happy. He's like, it's a list of things you can't do. Like, you can't drink wine from a mason jar, but you can be happy. All you got to do is put your mind to it. You got to buckle down, knuckle down, and do it. That's the song. Anyways, Yeah, that's what I mean. Roger Miller. Oh, you know all his songs. Oh, okay. So you're in the loop. Anybody who's not is probably like, "What? This has nothing to do with fish, Alex. What are you going on about? And have you lost your mind?" Um, maybe, maybe I have. But I love listening to those old records, and like his greatest hits, honestly, is probably a good enough listen. There's some really obscure stuff that's just bizarre. Same with oh, what are they called? The not um um they have the river is wide, but the moon they do kind of like weird violin mixed with like string instrument and folky Americana music, but it's Billy something, right? Or I'm having a blank, but there's another fun, crazy old timey band that that yeah. One can drink anything from a mason jar. You know, you're correct. Other than like it's not Billy Strings, but I do like Billy Strings. I do like him. Actually, you know, he's a bit younger than me, quite a bit younger than me. But he came through my college town, like after I'd graduated, and he was like 17 or something at the time, playing with just a bunch of like a bluegrass jamboree thing, and I happened to catch him, and it was his first time like touring the States alone as a himself or whatever. I think he used to tour with his dad a little bit, but anyways, it was very cool. And I liked him then, and I like put that in the little knowledge feather in my cap, and I've been listening to that guy for a long time. His playing is just insane. He's gotten so good. Um, Aqua JB. Well, holy smokes, 1250. I mean, I what does it mean? 1250. 1250. There's and a black heart. A black heart. Well, I'll take it. I'll take the black heart. I'll take a blue heart. I'll take a white heart. I'll take a pink heart. Anything but a purple heart. I'll take it. Haven't earned that one. But maybe if I go roller skate in a buffalo herd and save someone, maybe I'll earn one somehow that way. But thank you very kindly. I do appreciate it. It does help keep the lights on. I know everybody's got crazy electric bills. I hear out in the Midwest, everybody's electric bills for like their fish rooms and stuff are going up, up, up. I've heard the Great Lakes region and kind of Rust Belt, Buffalo, Albany, Cleveland. I don't know. Let me know if you guys are out there. Has anybody seen like double, triple electric rates? That I've been hearing like whisper of it, and then I've heard things going up from there in the future is like near future. It's not going to be good. It's going to be very difficult. Ooh, the Violent Femmes. That's another good band. Sometimes I wish I had like a musical channel. Hello, TW Chisholm. Good to see you too. Elf Puncher. Good to see you. Shout out to the Violent Femmes. Yeah, I saw them a long time ago. Sketty, what's going on? There's all the hearts right there. You left. Did you leave purple out? You did. Wow. How considerate. Look at that. Wow. Thank you. I got a brown heart. Who's like, here's a brown heart. I want to give you my brown heart, darling. It's like a line from a bad, what's his name? Not Owen Wilson, but the other one from Place Beyond the Pines. Or the other guy that was in like Cruel Intentions, that movie that Matt or Ryan Phillippe or whatever back in the day when in the late 90s when he was Mr. Man Crush for all the girls. Anyways, Carson Fram, what's going on? Welcome also. And Randall Ben, my nephew waddled into a creek yesterday and brought me a tote about 4 inches of leaves and bottom crap. We found crawdads, scuds, dragonflies, and mayfly larvae. Right on. The mayfly larva, That's pretty cool. You're talking about like well, I mean, we have a few different versions around here. We've got like the periwinkles, we call them, but they're like little rocks, like they're covered in a little cocoon, those little larvae. And then there's also just like little red worm ones that are basically bloodworms, from caddisfly and mayfly and like midges and stuff like that. But either way, very cool and lots of fun. And a Yuckle Kush, what's up? That's a fun name to say. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. I'm glad you liked the channel. If you found it, there are like 2,000 episodes on this song, and you can go back through that whole catalog and find all of that. If you want the live streams, I mean, granted, there's a lot, like I don't know, 800 live streams or something, or maybe more, and that probably shouldn't count as 2,000 videos or whatever in my catalog. But some of them are fun. Some of them have topics. Like you can tell if it has a topic. Like if I started off by saying, guys, this one's going to be kind of a topic, and I'm sorry if I don't interact much, and then I like interact for 10 minutes, and you just skip to the 10-minute mark, and then I'll start the presentation, because there's quite a few live streams I've done over the years that I realize I need to like transfer over for y'all into some sort of like cut it down, because it was like an hour-long presentation for another club that I'd given recently, and I decided to give it as a live stream also, or I even did it as I recorded it for a club like that had a meeting that had bad internet or no internet or whatever the reason was. There's been a few where I've recorded it for a reason or one reason or another and put it online, and then they could download it or record it and then bring it to their club amongst themselves. And so, yeah, there's some live streams that are like that I'd like to, you know, put as their own video again. Same with like, I know everybody wants shorts, and so I need to go back through, and I've had a couple people be like, hey, I want to edit for you. I'd love to edit for you, Alex. Like, you know, you can pay me, or, you know, we can split the revenue from what you're earning off the videos I edit. And I show them my how little money that those make. Like shorts make like, you know, $4-5 if I get 10-15,000 views on them. And the longer form videos, I usually make somewhere between $25 and $150 in the life of the video. But like I said, I have 2,000 videos. So I was making enough content that like it's a niche, but if I stay on top of it and I bust my ass and I work, pardon my French, and I work as hard as I can, like, and make 2 or 3 videos that are decent like that a week, plus do a couple live streams, like it works out, and it keeps you afloat. But the channel's never really had more than 1 or 2 videos that like were just grand slams where I got, you know, 100,000 views in a couple days or whatever. But when that happens, you make good money. But other people who are coming to edit are seeing channels that hit that kind of number every video or whatnot. And I'm like, well, I can't, you know, I can't even pay you that. I don't make, you know, I make like, right now I'm making less than $2,000 a month. So what I can do though, is I can give you whatever money it does make as incentive to try to make more edits and make more money from it. You know what I mean? But that's not even that great for the hard work of editing. And I get that, like, I understand, and I feel bad about it. And so the thing I was like trying to think of is like, how can I incentivize somebody to want to edit, other than giving them the entire money that is made off shorts, for instance. And you know, I'm still kind of brainstorming on that one, like what the best way to do it is. But for me, in the meantime, I've been thinking that like, and I'm not using AI as much as it's actually really cool that AI does some of it. AI will edit your shorts or edit your live stream into like 20 shorts to tease and then like upload them. I just don't like most of the interfaces of how that works. And I don't like, I don't know. It feels unfair. Like it feels like I don't want these, I don't want the AI edit to take over. And I definitely like I hate the voiceovers where you type in a script and then some British dude with a warm crackling fire that's like just quietly in the background, or like you hear like waves just kind of washing it, and they talk about like history or something, or like, you know, history to sleep by, or, you know, the Roman Empire for 7 hours or whatever, and these people just blather on, and it's like bullshit. Man, I just want to swear today. I'm sorry. I gotta watch my mouth. It's just like crap. It's utter crap if you're like a history actual buff. And that's like kind of like my last episode, like I was talking about, you know, this drama I had on the Betta forums. And what it did is it made me want to come to you guys, and we'll answer questions today. Also, by the way, I'm seeing that Andrew says that his electric bill's so bad. We have a huge Microsoft data center a mile away. It's doubled since last. Yeah, the data centers, some of them are being told like, oh, you have to make your own power thing, but it's still impacting the market. You don't understand like how free markets work. Like, if, anyways, that's a whole other tangent that I won't get into because that'll set me off. But yeah, it's wild. Yeah. Anyways, musical references. Yeah, I would like to do a musical channel. I'd like to do a history channel too. I'd also like to do like a pharmacology or like ethnobotany channel, which is like way off the radar right now. And I've never done any of those other than like some mushroom identification stuff and things like that. But every time I do that, I get freaking I get kicked off the platform for like a week or something, or they take down the video, and you know, that's how I've almost lost the channel all the times, other than King of DIY and I having our thing where he sued me and reported me for stealing copywritten material. Well, that, you know, that was my material, so at least somebody got to the right source. And it's so weird because if you have a big enough problem with YouTube, you have to go through Twitter. So you go on Twitter and you say, YouTube admins, like, all my appeals have failed. It said that a person reviewed this, but it's people in India or Bangladesh or Pakistan or wherever, and they get the guideline and they interpret it very literally, and also their cultural standards are what are going to apply, even though they have this rubric. You know, so their idea of, for instance, like decency might be completely different in, you know, Cameroon, where there's a group of people working to do that and to take down inappropriate videos, versus you know, where it's illegal to actually be, for instance, gay, versus another video that, like, you know, YouTube's celebrating, you know, Pride Month or something. So even if they say like, okay, these things are allowed, in a lot of places there can be taboos, there can be just weird miscommunications. And so even though the first layer is bots and chat GPT type large language model things, they're not even real people when you have a problem. The next problem is like, so what happened was Joey King of DIY reported my channel, my live stream, as a recording that we did at his house, as if I telecasted it after the fact, that it was his property, which was a lie. It was, we were both on a live stream. He was on my channel. If he wanted to be off, I said, get off the screen, but I'm not stopping it. And I'm not deleting it because I want people to see an unedited truth of how this is all going down. We're literally going to have it out right here. And I was like, we can argue right here, but I'm not going to like talk to you behind the scenes and have a whole drama. We'll end it right here. And because of that, it like made him furious. And that actually got my channel taken down for like 4 or 5 days, just because of him reporting me. And then he got another 146, I believe was the count, videos that edited parts of our interaction, because somebody must have reposted it. I don't know who it was. It's got to be someone big, like, you know, I don't know, Aquarium Co-op or something. I know it wasn't Corey, but someone big like that because maybe it was King of DIY. I don't know. Somebody posted it that, hey, we're live having it out right now, because all like over 1,000 people came into that live stream right at the end. And a bunch of people recorded the last 15 or 20 minutes of us arguing and having this, awkward conversation live. And then when they reposted it, they all got hit. And they got all the money that all their videos made reviewing what went down between us got hit for copyright infringement. And there's probably someone in here that got hit with that back in the day, because a lot of people, when they saw that my channel got taken down, they were like, what? That wasn't fair. So anyways, that is a wild situation. I wish YouTube would fix that. Same with like the music thing, where any music play, like if a phone rang and had the old school Nokia like do 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 like version of a song, like the goofiest, most 8-bit song, like a 4-bit song version, it would still copyright claim it, like certain bands like Metallica or the Eagles, stuff like that. Anyways, long story short / long story long is that, yeah, it's a crappy system. And again, like I was saying, and I interrupted myself, was that last video I did about how we look up information and myths and wise tales and things like that about the hobby. Where does that come from, and how do we dispel that, and like where does it get started? It was really interesting, this journey that I went on in that last video. Also, I want to show you guys, let me scroll down so that I'm in real time, and I'm going to try to make sure I don't, let me see if let's see here, Yuckle Kush, you have a YouTube channel. It's hard work. Well, I'll have to come check out your YouTube channel. I love checking out other folks' YouTube channel. So yeah, it is wild how much YouTube can totally just do things without giving you any idea why. And the other thing is, yeah. Yeah. Hey, thanks. I appreciate your opinion here, Yuckle. Yunkle. I appreciate it. Yeah. YouTube is, I mean, they just need to get better with it. It's wild. So anyways, aloha, hello. David's Aquatics, hello. Bambi McCluskey, hello. Good to see y'all. I'm just trying to scroll down here and make sure I didn't mess everything up. And then I'll finish what I was saying. Yeah, see, Aqua JV still has a copy of that. See, somewhere. I don't know if you got hit by the copyright thing. But anyways, Joey kind of seems like he could be a punk. I don't want to get to it. Oh man, people are talking about their bills. Yeah, so it's as bad as I hear. Mine aren't quite like that yet, and we have a tiny house. But I heat the fish room with, right now I've been using space heaters that are like the oil kind that like it sits and it like kind of recycles its fluid oil heater. But they have a limit. Every space heater you buy in the United States, basically, that's over a set size can only be a certain amount of energy output, unless it's in its own 480 or 240 power line, like wired up section, and you've got, like an outside AC or heating type setup with ducts and all sorts of permits and stuff. If you're going to just buy a little portable heater, though, they can only be so strong. And so no matter what they say about BTUs or whatever, like, they're going to be the same amount of warmth. Some are more efficient than others. So maybe that's not quite true. But at this day and age, most of them have figured out that, like, if you want to pay $500 for the Dyson version, you're not getting anything more energy wise than you are from the, say, $100 Daewoo or whatever weird off-brand is making the space heater in this day and age. The channel technology Connections has a good video about it, and so does Scott Mold. Is that his channel's name? I think Scott Mold. Anyways, he does like an engineering channel, but it's kind of crazy. Yeah. Did you get impacted by the winter storm a couple weeks back? Tips and tricks. I did not. It didn't snow here, but it did get down to like 23 or 4 a couple nights. And in my house, that means that even with the heat blasting, like the fish room back wall will get 50 degrees probably, like if I don't have a space heater running. So I have to run the heat and the space heater, but it's kind of odd in that even if I don't run the house heater, the space heater in that room will compensate enough, but it just gets so miserable in there because it's humid and sticky and the water's evaporating. It made me contemplate saying, man, I need to get lids for this. And that's another thing about this channel that I've been trying to debate is like, if with the fish room, like I have really, it's been really good that I, 23 Fahrenheit outside. Yeah. Is how cold it was. Like the coldest night of the year, just north of Seattle. It got really cold. And that was right around January 19th, around my birthday. Actually, that's the only reason I remember the date. But yeah, right now it's like, I don't know, 44 degrees Fahrenheit. It's, or whatever, 5 Celsius. It's 3 Celsius to 6 Celsius, somewhere in there most days. We've had an extremely warm winter here in Seattle. And I know that's not true for the rest of the country, but we have had a couple weird windstorms and we have had a ton of rain, which is bad because usually it falls as snow in our mountains. And then we get both glaciers built up and we get snowpack. And that hasn't happened. There's like no snow built up on our mountains that you can see from the city hardly. Usually the whole skyline, all west and all east, the horizons, the mountains are white in Seattle until at least June. And now it's just blue. It's really wild. Yeah, I should, Elf Puncher. I should get some rigid wall insulation or some of that like metallic, like the stuff with the either pink or yellow foam inside, and then it's like sandwiched with like space blanket type material. I should get some of that, some of those cut for it, the 3M or whatever that is, Tyvek, whatever, whoever makes that stuff. But yeah, I should do that. And it is the miserable months here where like it could be it could be a better winter, in my opinion, if it would just snow. Like I enjoy the snow, and the snow also then falls on the house and kind of insulates the house. So even if it drops down to 20 degrees, if it's snowing, usually it's not a big deal. But around here in Washington State, in Seattle, because we're so close to the salt water, if it gets cold, it usually gets dry. And if it gets wet, it warms up, and it tends to be like 40 degrees or 35. And it's always in winter. Until recently, it was always just 35 and this like sleety rain. And sometimes at night, in the middle of the night, it would turn to like ice for a little bit, or right when it hits the windshield. But we wouldn't get those mega ice storms that you get in other places, like out in the Midwest or Appalachia or the Northeast. Sometimes get some. And we've only had those once or twice in my life that I remember, and they're bad, obviously, especially when you're not prepared. Anyway, Peninsula. what is up? That name, is that like Isopods? Are you based somewhere in Seattle? I don't know what that name is. Very precarious for me to say. Peninsula. Yeah, I don't know if I'm saying it right. Anyways, hey Alex, most basic question of question planting stem plants, Sagittaria in an established aquarium, and in particular less creeping rush for a carpeting type plant. Always have a hard time. Thanks. So I would call Sagittarius not actually a stem plant. I would call most of that kind of like a vining plant or a chaining plant, like stargrass, guppy grass, or naja grass as it's called. Valsenaria is another one that does that. Dwarf hairgrass is one. I showed you guys a number of years ago. I had for 2.5 years. I did grow it initially with CO2 and highlight, but after that, I just used a Fluval 3.0 in a 20 long tank, and I was able to grow dwarf hairgrass in a thick carpet. I mean, very thick. You just have to trim it, otherwise the dead debris and snail eggs and fish poo and waste and plant debris from other parts of the tank settles into hairgrass, and it becomes the mulm, but it also kind of rots the roots. So you kind of have to like fluff it up and like use your hands to either kind of kick that mulm up and get it in the filter, or have some sort of power head or flow in the tank from a canister or from a hang off the back or one of those little corner filters. But it is hey, somebody said, can you help me find your live stream with Ryan from BioAquatics? We're talking about breeding panda. Sorry, I'm talking really loud. I can try, but he's someone I want to have on again, and it might have been on Father Fish's channel actually that we talked about that specific thing, because he didn't talk about it in public until it was clear that other people had success as well. So I knew he had done it like 8 years ago probably. And then about 5 years ago, he finally was open about how he did it. But he told me like just kind of close, like one-on-one when I went down there and met people in Florida. That was kind of like, I think, my wink and a nod to like, okay, you can here's your introduction. But I think it's a Father Fish live stream that he popped up on, so you might find it by searching on Father Fish actually. And this was back when Father Fish was different. Things have changed over there, that's for sure. But anyways, do you grow any pumpkin vines? I never have. I bet you could grow squash or pumpkin out of the aquarium pretty easily. Although they might be so energy intensive, nutrient intensive, that you'd need like, a bunch of pacus and goldfish and like, things that eat and make a crazy mess and have a ton of nutrients in the water and make a ton of ammonia, nitrate, nitrite. That's interesting that you mentioned that though. Yeah, you got to fluff it up, and then you got to trim it up. You got to fluff, fluff, fluff. You got to trim, trim, trim. You got to take care of the hair grass. Yeah. But basically, carpeting plants, the best one for beginners is going to either be like something like Valsenaria, stargrass, Sagittarius grasses, things like that. The dwarf or just hairgrass, those are easy in that they will, once they take hold, they will start growing. A lot of people buy them in tissue cultures, and tissue cultures are notoriously hard to start. Once they take hold, they're rock solid after that. But there is a learning curve / honestly, just CO2 is what's usually needed. CO2, highlight, and clean water, like no organic debris, because tissue cultures are extremely, and I didn't actually know this when I made my tissue culture rundown, because I was actually making tissue cultures with a friend of mine for a while, 6 years ago or so, 7 years ago, and I didn't realize that tissue cultures, they have all these hormones in that gel and all this nutrients, but they have like growth hormones that are triggering them to stay in between their aquatic and their immersed state, and they're in what's called a callus, or in a non-differentiated cell growth state when you have a tissue culture. So that plant hasn't decided if it's underwater or if it's growing above water yet. It's kind of in between, and it's growing from a mother plant that could be 20 years old. Like it's not a baby just because it's small. Whereas like if you have a seedling that has germinated, or a start of a plant that germinated from a small start, then that is a young plant that's growing, and it's, you know, the way it just spreads nutrients, the way it does things is still getting wired and still getting decided. But the plant, when it's a clone and done in tissue culture, it's kind of if you got, a lot of people know more about the wacky tobacco than they do about cloned plants in the aquarium. But the interesting part is you can flower it at any time. So whereas most plants, you plant a seed, it has to grow for 6 months or a year or 10 years or 20 years, just depends on the species. Then you change the lighting, you change the you know, the nutrient flow a little bit, whatever it may be. You stress it a bit with water or a nitrogen flush or something, and then all of a sudden you can flower it. And with things like herb, we'll just say herb, like with tomatoes, you can get those to flower at 3 to 8 months or whatever it may be, depending on how good of a season it is, how much they're growing, how quickly they flower and then turn to fruit, right? Like, and probably more like four or 5 months in soil. With hydroponics and stuff, I know there's ways to coax faster growth. But if you're using a tissue culture or a clone or in vitro cutting of a tomato vine, you could put that in the ground, grow it this tall, and then change the lighting spectrum from vegetative growth, which is the green plant material, to flowering and fruiting growth. And that's the longer hours of the season with the redder light, and more disrupted through the angle of the atmosphere later in the day, that kind of thing. As the seasons change, September kind of, you know, as summer goes on, it triggers it to fruit or to flower. And in the case of a clone, is as soon as it has mass, it's old enough to like flower and trigger that, which is wild. Whereas the other one has to age, it has to kind of have like a whole process that the other ones don't. So all of our tissue cultures are this, basically they're a sample cut with a scalpel very carefully in a clean room, living in this petri dish. And it doesn't look like a normal plant. So like when you get a cutting of, for instance, a Rotala super red, it may not look like a Rotala super red plant when you get. So they'll grow it on agar. They'll grow it on a culture media that's that cup with the clearish gel or black gel or green gel, depending on the brand, different color gel. But a translucent gel looks like jelly or jello. That stuff has the hormones and nutrients in it, and it either triggers or regulates growth. And then they're supposed to either be under a light or kept out of light, depending on if you're trying to just not have them grow at all and deliver them, or depending on if you're allowing it to grow in the cup for some time and then you're going to let it out and, you know, you're okay with it aging in the cup. And those are little clones, and the source material is basically it's like a tumor. It's a lump of cells that are from the parts of plants. So plants have where it goes from stem to bud, right? Like the bud, if you have a flower and it's like budded up, it's all tight, it hasn't opened into a flower yet, it's just that green little bud. And then there's the branch of the stem, the main stem and the little stems. Well, that bud that comes out in between the two stems, right where all that meets, there's a little bit of tissue that's called undifferentiated tissue. That also occurs in plants usually wherever there's a branching off, or like in palm trees, wherever you see the segments, the like in a coconut tree or something, it'll be there and you can scrape it off there. Well, you can grow that tissue with chemicals. You can keep that alive and neutrally growing in like a refrigerator grow light, whatever. It might need a heater. It just depends on your goals and plant. But it's really wild, because then you can grow this thing a couple cells at a time until it's like a blob of like plant matter. It looks kind of like a rhizome or a stem maybe, but just kind of amorphous, almost like a gall. When you see like on a oak tree and you see it's got like big lumpy deformed parts, that's something different. But that's undifferentiated tissue, usually a wasp or a virus or a bacteria or an injury does that, and then it causes the cell tissue to go crazy and it doesn't grow in a predictive plant-like pattern. Well, the same thing can basically be held in suspension, and then you can cut pieces off that and put them into the new gel cups, and they'll grow. Each and every one will grow into a plant as soon as they get that chemical signal. And normally it would take a certain kind of weather and a certain temperature, a certain amount of water, a certain amount of nutrients, maybe the amount of light in the day. But we can also cheat that by just adding the hormones from the plant world that we've isolated. So it's pretty cool that it all works that way. But it's also why tissue culture plants can be so tricky and difficult. And the other thing that happens is they haven't decided if they're underwater or above water. So I said that makes them tricky too. Well, while they're growing out, they haven't decided a lot of things. So that's their epigenetic code, or their RNA, and not so much their DNA. So they still have what they were going to be destiny wise, that's encoded in them. But whether they're going to have 2 branches or 3 branches may have to do with how much, nutrition there is at a given time at that height of where the crown of the tree is. And those are all like little on-off switches that are like a wrapping around the main DNA. So the main DNA says you're going to branch off and make a new limb every time you have enough nutrients, and we're going to grow up towards the light. Well, then you may have this RNA or epigenetic code, depending on what life form it is, and if it's plant or animal, whatever. But this thing around it, same within fish. It's like when a baby fish is an egg, it has that code that at some point it's going to be an adult, and at some point it's going to just have eyes and a spinal column and just be a little tadpole looking thing living in an egg. Well, then it starts to grow, and it can grow several different ways. And for instance, with like a salmon, you've got some that are landlocked and some that are going to live in a river, and then others that live in a river for some time and then go out to sea. Well, all of them have very interesting like triggers and or genetic coding that we really don't understand still. And in the past, we thought it was environmental cues or signals and we just thought it was as simple as that. But now we're learning that there may be kind of this universal code that we call epigenetic studies now. The last 20 years or so, it's been a field. And that is really studying the on-off switch of that. So like when a salmon all of a sudden comes back from the ocean and it turns into this ugly hook-nosed, sharp-toothed fish that is full of muscle, and it can jump 7 feet in the air, and yet its organs dissolve. Literally, its like stomach lining and stuff turns into protein for it to use as muscle in the rest of its body. Eels do that too. That's a trigger, and something does it, and it may not be the same year for every one of those, every individual in that species. It could just be when the season is right, or a certain time of year is when most do it. But if it misses its chance, or if that river was dammed, or the scent of the river is not around, it can prolong that. And so we've been studying all these things and trying to figure out like what is the trigger. Well, when you have a plant that is in its clone state, in a tissue culture state, you can do a lot of fun things with that. You can get it to turn bright red or bright purple, you know, all the full colors, grow very dense. You can get it to grow into carpets or mats when normally it wouldn't. You can do a lot of kind of interesting things with it if you manipulate it just right and give it the right signals that trigger the right code signals essentially to fire. But it's kind of like us going through puberty. Like we do that once. So imagine if you had a switch that can go off, on, off, on, off, on, and you could go back to being a kid who hadn't gone through puberty, you know, and your body transformed back and forth, back and forth. Well, there's certain things like that. And in what we call lower order animals, which is kind of an old way of thinking about things in complexity's sake. But we call fish sometimes a simpler life form or an older level animal. But they've been the same thing. They've been a fish for 350 million years. And in that time, they've tried things like salmon. They've tried things like eels. They've tried all these different things. And that genetic history, just like in a chicken, when you look at a chicken embryo, it has teeth. The beak has teeth in all birds when it's in the embryo. And then it loses that. It also has a tail, whether or not the bird has a visible tail or not, whether it has a little nubbin of a tail or whether it has a big, you know, bird plumage. Either way, though, when it's in the embryonic stage, you can see those earlier forms of it evolving. And when it was a reptile or dinosaur, basically, it had sharp teeth and not a beak. And so those early stages still start to form until this code in their DNA says, don't need the sharp teeth, go without them. Well, there can be things, whether it's cancer, whether it's radiation, whether it's just a whoopsies, because nature just does whoopsies. And if it works, the thing lives and the thing breeds, and then the whoopsie keeps getting passed on. Well, that's when you would end up with chickens with sharp teeth instead of beaks. But beaks were the ones that lived better as chickens. Whereas when they were little velociraptors or whatever, clearly the beak didn't work out at that time. But my point is, with fish, they may have come onto land, gone back in the sea. We don't know the full story of every species, nothing near it. And so there's fish that are, 200 million years old, and they have the ability to do these incredible things that to us are very complex, because mammals have taken a trajectory that kind of took a long time. And like we spent energy on developing our ability to be warm-blooded and regulate our temperature, our ability to breathe air. That's a huge thing. Life living on land is probably the most energy taxing and illogical thing that life ever did. Life living in water makes total sense. Chemicals, gases, everything transports so much more logically and easily, and osmosis, blah blah blah, you name it. To get out and live on land in oxygen, which is like the stuff that causes potassium and sodium to literally blow up, to catch on fire, and water and oxygen, it oxidizes, it causes iron to turn to red dust and fall apart. Like, oxygen is nasty. That's why we take antioxidants. Our cells had to protect us from oxygen, yet fish are breathing oxygen too. So it's just wild how the earth developed and we developed and other animals developed. But fish, instead of developing all these novel things and going down this very different path, they kind of stuck with what worked, and they may have tried one thing and then it kind of went right back to where it was. They never turned into some new thing that got out of the water and then did something else, other than that one time that they did that, and all four-legged creatures on Earth, and then all snakes, like everything else got out on land. Well, the last time fish tried anything new or innovative that was extreme as like mammals and or reptiles and lizards was when tetrapods got out on land, when the first little amphibian reptile thing probably got into the shallows 300 million years ago, maybe 400 million years ago, and came out. And there were probably different groups of them. And then, you know, some of them, like whales and things, evolved into mammals, lizards, then into mammals, then into big, like, weird pig or warthog things similar to like a hippo, and then that thing hanging out in the river all the time like a hippo turned into a whale. So what the heck? And then, you know, there's some evidence that maybe some of sea lions and things are actually evolving their ability to get back out on land more. So then there's like river otters and things that have gotten their ability to be in the water. So there's different paths, but we can see like where things have evolved because of fossils and because of the record. But we don't always know with all these species of fish, for instance, especially freshwater fish that have been isolated, we don't know what tricks they have up their sleeves. So there might be some crazy fish that has like 10 extra chromosomes, and it's because of some crazy mutation that worked at deep water depths 200 million years ago, and then it went away 180 million years ago. So there's so much left to be discovered. And you know, plants and things are more predictable in that we've played with them enough, and you add this chemical, this happens, you add that chemical, this happens. Well, one of the weird things about plants, and I know I'm really on a tangent now, but one of the weird things about plants is chlorophyll breaks down. And one of the main things that it breaks down into, other than some basic sugars and amino acids and things. Sorry, guys, I've been itchy, like a hair in my throat or something. What's interesting is that we don't, or that it breaks down into the amino acid, into CO2, O2, nitrous oxide, and nitrogen gases. We know that. Okay, but what does the main thing turn into in chlorophyll? Like the main resultant is actually H2O2. So it's hydrogen peroxide. And hydrogen peroxide melts plant tissue, right? So plants have this self-destruct mechanism built in that chlorophyll, when it's at the end of the season and the leaves are red and stuff, when a plant cell dies and starts to kind of decay, just by default, it decays chemically into hydrogen peroxide in the first kind of breakdown beyond its main big chunky chemicals and stuff. As it breaks down into simpler chemicals, it turns into a puddle of that just sitting in the leaf. And that's why it burns holes and causes other cells near it oftentimes to die. Well, a really healthy cell can hold that at bay for some time. And in plants, that has a cell wall, which is protective. Well, once that's ruptured, the whole cell can be eaten away. And so it's kind of interesting, though, that when you have a plant melting and you've got all that biological plant debris, mold stuff sitting in your tank, not only does it have weird hormones and signals to the plants like grow or stop growing or turn this color or be dense, be fluffy, be, whatever the signals are telling these plants, every evolution of every plant is a little different. And so it may have the same chemicals in it, but the same chemical may trigger a different fulfillment of whatever the signal is it's sending, should have triggered in that original species. So in duckweed, you may have a signal go out that tells other duckweed flowers, hey, we're flowering, so flower, hurry up and flower. Well, that same chemical may be used for sending a signal of we don't need the most reddish hue in the plant anymore in crip, for instance, in a crip plant that's so different from duckweed. So maybe that same organic compound chemical that is used for something on a cellular level, right, and is just released into the water, maybe that same thing, when a cryptocorin gets that signal, it says, oh, it's the end of the season. We can let that part of our plant die off because it's going to be flooding and the river water is going to rise, and it's going to just be too deep to have to deal with that part of the light spectrum. So those colors and that, in the chlorophyll, it's not useful to us. And right there, that's when you get plants going to war with each other without even knowing it. Then you get plants that intentionally are actually sending out chemicals in allelotrophy or allelopathy, or allelopathy, however you want to say it or whatever, where plants actually send out these omni-plant, like old signals to ancient evolutionary common ancestors of plants, things that say like transport water up the plant, you're going to use potassium, these other things, they're soluble, and phosphates are going to regulate your metabolism. Well, then there's another chemical that inhibits phosphate metabolism speeds or something, and that chemical may be 40 million years old, right? It may have a common ancestor way back in aquatic plants. And so maybe a whole genus or a whole family of plants is impacted by that signal in a certain way. And so in that way, you get whole genuses, families, and phylums of plants that are able to signal to each other and communicate. And it's a whole world that we've learned quite a bit about, but in the aquarium world, we really don't know a lot about it, especially when you take plants that have been on different continents for millions of years and then you put them back together. You never know how they've changed, especially when they've been selected by humans to be all white. Oh, I like Pinto Anubius or whatever, or albino or ivory or whatever you want to call the morph. Variegated. Well, variegation is a virus usually in the plant, and usually it's a harmless virus in its first few iterations. But you can take it too far to the point where the plant's all white, and no longer, it's not even albino, it's all white, and none of the tissues are functioning the way they're supposed to. Anyways, hey, what's going on, Stephen P? Good to see you, man. Freshwater ichthyology, super good to see you. Yes, genus is genera. I know, you're right. Yeah, and I still like saying genera. I know it's wrong, but it's just how I want to say it. I'm sorry. I'll work on it. It's like Corydoras and Corydora, But yeah. In other words, tissue cultures are tricky. Yeah, they can be. They're cool in that if you have lots of CO2 and light, you can really power through some stuff, right? And I think people also, like, they want to do something for their plants, like feeding it daily. And really, the only thing you can do to help your plants daily, other than CO2 and light, is more, it's really not dosing fertilizers. That's a futile attempt. I mean, you could do estimative index dosing, but what's going to help even more is doing the water change and getting the old organic chemical signals out of the water, getting that gel off the bottom of the roots, letting that plant become its thing, let its epigenetic code settle in, decide that it's chill, it's happy, and then all things are good. Let's see here. Thank you so much, Johnny, buddy. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. It's good to see you as well. Sketty, good to see you. Asia, good to see you. Love seeing everybody in here. It's always a pleasure to see folks. But also, we got a gifted Fishery membership, so thank you so much. The gift that keeps on giving. And it's the memberships, it's the whether you can spare $1.99 once in a while and want to be a member, or you can do a super thanks or whatever. I have to say, like, there's a certain amount of that I have to pander, I have to beg, I have to say, guys, I thank you, I appreciate it. I don't need it from everyone, but I do need it from some of you. Or the ads have to play for some of you, or whatever it may be. but the hope is that, the channel gets big enough and I can still have a community where we talk and there's only freaking 50 or 100 of us in live stream. You can still get at me, brah, and we can still talk like I'm a 50-person channel, basically. Yet there's 100,000 subscribers, and hopefully they're watching the videos and replays. Hey, guys, if you're watching a replay of this. But that hopefully every once in a while someone wants to kick in, and then that keeps the lights on, and then not everybody has to kick in, because I get it. Not everybody can kick in. I totally get it. I do 5. I've said this in the past. I pick 5 channels that I enjoy and that I get value from, and I will become a member for $5 or $1.99. I might do more than that for a month, but I'll usually stick around for 3 or 4 months, and then I may change if what I'm watching changes. But I try to do that and then just kind of rotate it, and that's almost kind of like my cable bill to the independent creators in the world, because I actually watch YouTube more than I would watch cable or anything, anyways. I still pay for cable because I told my wife I would. She watches a few shows on there. The only one I like right now is The Pit. I've been watching a lot of that show. That is a really good show. As somebody who grew up with a doctor as my primary caretaker, my grandfather for a lot of my adolescence when I was in trouble as a preteen and a teen and mouthing off and whatnot. He was a pharmacist and a doctor and a drill instructor. So my parents were like, that's who you're going to live with. And it really, I learned a lot about the medical world. And then my own life has just been constantly at the doctor and stuff. So between all those things, when I see a medical show that gets it right, I'm like, oh, like I can actually play along. I can guess what they have. It's not like House, which was kind of a fun show, right? But it's some like obscure disease that no one ever gets, that like he deduced in some, very novel way, which is cute and fun in its own way. But there's something about The Pit, which is a very realistic drama. And they give you like what their blood pressure is, what their vitals and the stats from like a CBC panel are. They'll read all that off, and very quickly, you can actually be like, that guy, he's gonna have potassium dropping in a second in the next scene if they don't give him some freaking magnesium and sodium and water. And sure enough, somebody's like, well, didn't anybody give him magnesium, sodium, and water? So it's fun in that way if you're a medical nerd. I bet doctors just see it as like, well, this is like my day at work. I don't want to watch this. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. But the other thing is they don't have time to get too much into the social side of things on that show, which is kind of cool, because doctor shows always turn into some like drama, and then there's like a hostage taking thing that happens in every series, and then like there's a time where they have to triage at the hospital, and there's some mass disaster, an earthquake or a fire at the hospital. It crosses over with some other show that has firefighters and police, or some terrible event, whatever it may be. That stuff always inevitably happens as the show progresses. But what's interesting to me is that in this show, it's 1 hour is 1 hour of time in that hospital. And they give a little bit of liberty for like tests and stuff like that. They'll come into the ER and they'll be reading off tests as if like it came from the ambulance. So it's like, when did they run that blood test? But in the interest of time, it makes it pretty interesting. That might be true. That might be true. Good to see you, by the way. I love my Sacramento crew. I have spent a lot of time just being at the hospital with family members too, and power of attorney and power of health for 4 grandparents, both sides of the family. They're like, well, you did such a good job with the first 2 for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, that when my other grandma had Alzheimer's and I happened to be sick with my own issues, the family was like, oh, we'll we'll pay you to do that. But it ended up being like, actually, you can move back home and we'll feed you, which I'm not gonna complain. That worked out for a while. And I got to see my grandparents at the end of their life, which is a gift as much as it's also a burden. It's a gift. Um, but I don't want to sign up for it anytime soon again. Okay, one sec. I saw, we also have another super chat. Oh no, we have a new member. Sorry. Benson Eats. Cheers, new member. Welcome. Come aboard. Community tab, the posts tab, the playlist tab. There will be new stuff waiting for you. Over 200 episodes, random maps, random rants, a few random live streams. I don't do a ton of stuff anymore where I'm like, only the people who pay get this. But every once in a while I do. Or if I have a sale deal, or I know that like Aquatic Arts or Moonlight Aquatics only got 12 zebra plecos for the price of $99 a piece, that's going to go to like my members and not out to the public, because it'll be gone by the time anybody checks it. So there are some perks if you become a member, other than just helping me keep the lights on, but I do appreciate that. Neon tetras are not real nanofish. I agree. I would say more that cardinal tetras are not real nanofish. Neon tetras get like an inch and a quarter, maybe an inch and a half. It depends on the strain and like where they came from, the collection point, and their nutrients and their container size and all that. But yeah, they're not, strictly speaking, like what the idea of nanofish was originally, but that's something that has changed a lot. It has changed a lot. Yeah, that's interesting. Rebecca's saying the closest for science doctorates is Big Bang Theory. It gets better later on. I found, but it's very unrealistic. Yeah, if anybody ever did like a history major, archaeology, like I did, they would just hate it. Nobody would watch it. It's ridiculous. Yeah, power of attorney, power of health, and executor of the estate is what I was for all four of my grandparents. And my dad has 6 siblings, and my mom has 4. And literally the 4 of them, it was 2 against 2 every time. And I was the tiebreaker. And literally, while my grandpa didn't want to, he's like, if you're up for it, like, since he basically mentored me as a kid and taught me so much, and he made me like take honors classes. He's like, I don't care, you get home, you can have a beer, but you got to mow the lawn, and you got to do your homework, and you got to go to the gym with me. There was like a set thing you could do, but he never treated me like a kid, and I was cool with that rule. I just didn't like being treated like I was a kid. And when you're a teenager, you rebel. But my thing was like, if you're going to give me all these new responsibilities, I want some fun ones. So, my grandpa, he's like, things are going to change around here. You're going to cut your damn hair. I had like blue hair and long hair when I was like 14, and I got arrested a bunch of times. And it wasn't good for a while there. But he straightened me up for a while, and then I went out on my own, and then I lost my grandparents, and went through all that. And then I had another hard time in life. And actually, I'll mention it real quick here, just in case I disappear, or why you wonder why I haven't done 2 live streams this week. My neighbor, who y'all have met, and I'm not going to go, publicizing it or whatever, but he is somebody who's helped me with aquariums. I've got him into aquariums. He's got a family. He's somebody who, like me, has had addictions and things in the past, and he's had a brutal relapse with alcohol, and like he didn't think it. He kept saying it wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem. Everyone was kind of like, yeah, everyone drinks in society, it's okay. And then it turned into like all day, every day, no job. It's a major problem. And so we just got him to go to rehab. And he had, it has been insanity when you see how, like, I have not dealt with addiction up close like that in a long time. And I've seen a lot of nasty stuff. I've seen people pass away right in front of me. I've been around that world with other things, but I forgot how nasty like alcohol can be when someone's like just a jerk every time they drink, and they're just violent and loud and crashing the car through the garage at 4 a.m, and the wife coming over and being like, I need help, like my husband is going nuts. And like, do you call the cops? Do you just smack him and say like, chill out? I know you don't act like this. It's just I'm not running around hitting people, I promise. But anyways, it's been I'm surprised because like I'm not in good physical shape or in a good place to be having to deal with a whole other person's life full of problems. And I keep that to family generally, right? But he is somebody who over the last 5 years since we moved here, I got pretty close to. And so that's been one, very hard to see. And it also renews like my own, like, yeah, there's a reason I stopped drinking. And it's actually very different from his reasons. But I forgot that there are people who drink and their life falls apart in like a week. Who just can't. My issue was just that I thought everything was fun and everything's fine and I'm the life of the party and I can have a lot of it, like to the point where it's like that can't be good for your body. And nothing would stop me until one day I was like, I don't do anything. Like my entire social life revolves around us going to go and have a drink. I don't know how to meet a girl. I don't know how to do, so I didn't meet my wife with anything having to do with drinking and stuff. So that's why, I ended up marrying her too. Like I set up my whole life the way it is now 17 years ago so that alcohol was not the kicker or the icebreaker for anybody who's now close to me in my world. I don't care what they were doing. They could be drinking, but I was clear-headed and present-minded. And so that's been an important thing to me. And with my aquarium hobby, it's the same thing. It's important to me that it's kind of like my little sanctuary that I've kept away from my own mess ups and problems on that level. I can mess up in a tank. I can mess up or I can get sick and not do something with the tank for too long, or forget something, or turn a filter off when changing stuff out and forget to turn it back on, whatever it may be. But it's kind of like he, for instance, left the dogs in crate trainers that the neighbor did, and he went and just passed out somewhere. And like that's how bad it was. In like a week it went downhill this bad. And I hear the dogs crying from outside in my house, and I know how to get into his house. I'll just leave it at that. So I'm like, what's going on with these dogs? They're going nuts. And they'd been in the crates for like 18 hours or something, and he'd been passed out for like 12. So I let the poor dogs out. But it's just like, in my mind, when you see animals and or kids or family members, wives, husbands, whoever affected by that, then it just kills me to see that. And like I have enough problems with my own health, like that, I don't need like I have cognitive like brain fog, and I've got the CTE diagnosed, the chronic encephalitis, like, or whatever they call it, repetitive brain trauma. So when I get really tired and stuff, I get all like, and it's very similar to a drunken out of it. And that's another reason why, like, to be very vulnerable and honest with you guys while we're not talking about fish, that's why on live streams, while I'll stream earlier, or I won't stream some days, because the last 2 years I've struggled, and I've gotten online, and I'll start off thinking I'm fine, and by an hour in, I'm not maybe making as much sense, or I'm saying or my vision is blurring, and it's very similar to that. And I hate so much that people might get the idea that like I took something and then I spent my time trying to be here and be friendly and be your friend, also be a sounding board, give advice about a hobby that I really feel saved my life from some of those dark forces. And when I see, it happening again with somebody I care about, it reminds me of like what a retreat animals, plants, nature, fish, water, the sound of water, meditation, the movement of animals, and watching animals just be animals. How much that is the joy that I get out of life is watching that, and just the light hitting a fish in the morning in a certain way, and you see that fish in an all new way than you have seen it. And we're getting just the right picture, and like there's something to me that's very almost like sacred about the hobby for myself, because there's a lot of days where I got up looking forward to nothing, but I knew, okay, well, I got to feed the fish and I got to change the water. So I'd go over to the tank and I'd start that stuff, and as soon as I do that, it didn't seem so heavy or so like big to kick the next few things on the to-do list off, right? And so now when I come back to this world and I am trying to share what I learn to teach, but also learn from you guys as well. You guys are always telling me new stuff, and I'm like, is that true? And I look it up, and yeah, if it's true, then that's awesome. But I've had to learn even from like doctors and people with PhDs. I'll listen to them and I'll hear it. And I used to just immediately repeat, like if I talked to someone at a fish conference or a fish show, and if I heard they were the expert on something, I'd immediately on this channel hop on and be like, well, I know about this because I just talked to the world's most foremost expert on it. That doesn't mean every fact they said is correct, or that some of them aren't opinions, or that another expert in the field doesn't think the complete opposite about one or two things. And so now I've learned to I try to stop myself, but with that same space being sacred of the box full of water and organisms, right? The aquarium. I also see this space, whether it's on the phone or the computer or reading a book, but the knowledge and the process of learning, that's another thing that in my life gives me meaning. And I hope it's giving you guys meaning. And I hope it's giving a lot of people, whether you struggle with anxiety, depression, or any sort of addictions, or loss and grief or trauma. I mean, everybody's got some combination of those things. And for me, learning something new every day, if not quite a few things, and connecting pieces of things where I learned one thing in this part of my life and it connects to something over here, and then both those connect to like the fish hobby, like that's the wildest, coolest thing. I get a little dopamine hit that's like, yeah, brain, you're doing the thing you're supposed to do. So yeah. Oh, what's going on, Lisa? You had surgery? Uh-oh. Let's see here. What's going down here? Yeah, live streaming can be real. You're right, Rebecca. People don't realize that, but when you're talking just to a camera and it's an hour and 20 minutes or whatever it's been, it can be tired. It's taxing on your brain. People don't realize that your brain uses 20% of your calories if you're just sitting around, right? If you're running, I'm sure that's not the case, but maybe it is, but I don't think it is. So yeah, but when I was told by the neurologist, my neurologist at University of Washington in Seattle, well-respected neurologist, that my wife was like, when he can't think of the word and it's not coming to him. Oh, by the way, the band from the beginning of this live stream is Dan Hicks and his Hot Licks. Bill Hicks is the comedian. Dan Hicks and his Hot Licks. That's another really weird band, kind of like the B-52s or Roger Miller. But again, they have some very odd songs that are very twangy, country, Roger Miller-y, like roller skating in buffalo herds. If you guys are still around from the beginning of the stream, that was what I was trying to think of way back then. But what I was going to say, is that the neurologist said, if I start struggling for a word, it'd be different if I had a brain injury, like a bleed on the brain, and it had I was recovering and it was getting better and fixed, versus long-term brain injury and rerouting of my myelin sheaths that happened when I got electrocuted. That literally burned away the insulation on the nerves that talk to each other, the neurons and pathways that talk to each other in my brain. And that can regrow and it can patch itself, but it takes time. And a lot of times what used to go A to B to C has to go A to E to D to C to B, rather than from going A to B. So it has to go all the way around this other funky way that it rewired itself. And so things like learning to write again, I had to learn, going every day to physical therapy for a while, how to do things like that. Even like speech and stuff, they had to do some work with that. So you'll see in my early videos on this channel, I have a different cadence, a different rhythm, stuff like that. And I lost a bit of my sharpness, and I also lost a bit of my from the top of my head speed, if that makes sense. I used to be quicker at like coming up with, if I was stalling to think of something, it would come to me very quickly. I have a photographic memory when I was younger. And they say that's not like a real thing, but I can't explain it other than like, I think of not like addresses, directions, or names of things. I think of literally, I close my eyes and I could like sketch it. And that's how I remember all these details about something. Is if it's like a story or a year or a date, I actually used to remember it like a map on the wall. And there's all these, like, it's like a calendar on a timeline. And I actually had like it painted in my head, and I'd close my eyes for a sec if I needed to. And I could like pull out, March 1871. What do I remember from that? And that was like, it was kind of like a little superpower for a while there, but I haven't had that since I had the brain injury from the lightning. So it's been a big adjustment. Hey, congrats to you guys. For me, I haven't been, I should say that if I say I've been sober, I've been off alcohol for 17 years now, 18 almost. But when I went in for that leg surgery, I was on opiates for weeks, in the hospital. And, if I was on IV antibiotics or care, that was my, like, all right, I give in. If it's that bad, I'll take whatever they want, whatever the doctor recommends. And I was just totally open with them about my past and stuff. And they're like, your bone is hanging out of your leg. You need to, we need to get your blood pressure down, for instance. So I gave in, but, if you've been through that path of trying to get sober, it feels like it's a black and white, all or nothing. And then you realize, that there are shades of gray. But definitely, if I didn't have years of distance between those points in time, I probably would have said, no, I'm not going to take your, opiates. No, like, I'll just, bite the bullet, as they say. My animals, yeah, definitely. USMC animals definitely help for sure. Lisa, I hope you do recover quickly. Also, doing art, sleeping, watching this one Betta in my son's room. He still is nice. It lowers your pain. I'm sorry you're in pain. I know a lot of us in here know pain, physical and mental. But you'll get through it. And hey, Kenny, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. I need to give you a call. It's been far too long. That's my fault. Sometimes when you don't have much to report in your life, like, I've got whatever I report on the channel that's fish related, right? But then if like the rest of your life's like, pretty much every night's the same. Wife gets home, do this, that, go to the doctor twice a week, have a surgery on my foot once a week where they debride the whole thing. Then they rewrap it a third time. And then the other 2 days are checkups. You know, it kind of becomes like Groundhog's Day, and you don't want to tell people, like when you call, you don't, they're like, hey, what have you been up to? And I'm like, yeah, I haven't left the house in a year. I haven't like, you know, I haven't gone on a trip in a year. So yeah. But I'm hoping to go to AGA. That's my next one. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Ray of Sunshine. Your mom learning to oh wow, an aortic aneurysm followed by a stroke. Wow. Yeah, taking care of that is a big task. Yeah, man, you got that right. Doctors don't decide anything. It's up to, I mean, it's crazy. It's up to the insurance companies. It's up to whoever sets their freaking what they're going to cover, what meds are going to be covered, the formulary, whoever sets where the donut hole is, which a lot of middle class America, you know, in Washington state, you're better off poor, like under, if your household makes under 60,000 a year, is very poor in Washington. Now, it may sound like, oh, you could live a life of luxury other places. Yeah, well, you know, gas is $5 a gallon, and milk was like 8, you know, or whatever. You know, it's just stuff's expensive. You can't get. You go to McDonald's, and the cheapest meal is $15 on their. You know, it's like or 14 or 13.79, whatever, something like that. So it's expensive around here. Houses average $1 million in the city. That's the average is 980,000. So yeah, when you have 60,000 or less, you qualify though for a great opportunities for medical coverage, food assistance, things like that. But if you make 75,000 as a household in Washington, then you make too much and you just don't qualify for any of that. It's not a sliding scale, and there is a sliding scale with, I think, just SNAP benefits. But I mean, it's like, why would you need $40 towards food? I mean, it helps a little, I guess, but for most people, that's not going to get them through. Anyways, I don't want to go down this whole rabbit hole, but as people are talking about medical stuff, yeah, it's kind of wild how like you're better off having no money. Like last year, I did not work other than YouTube, right? And the channel went down a lot in money. And actually, I'm on track to nowhere near make the money that makes me above the poverty rate for my city. And that's okay, because then that qualifies me for care. And last year I needed $30,000 of medical bills paid. So what kind of sorry state is that? Like when you work your whole life to make a certain amount and to work up, and now the incentive is to just say like, actually, if I just stay unemployed and hurt or whatever, even though I am employed, but I'm just saying it would be really easy to say, you know, whatever. Whereas a lot of years I made not, you know, I didn't make enough for any assistance for most of my adult life. It's just a wild situation. Anyways, let's move on. AGA in Sacramento. I need to do a live stream with Luke Wong, who is the Sacramento liaison about all that with is he your president down there or vice president? I don't know what his official title is. I know he's on the board to some degree. But anyways, him and Nico, I needed to invite them up on the show. They wanted to talk and talk a little bit about that. And then also Ivan McColgy is supposed to be back. He's supposed to be in America in Sacramento. So that was my other like excuse of like, I got to get to Sacramento and be there for AGA. Just because I wanted to see him. But you know, everybody here, Mike, what's going on? Running Water, what's up? It's good to see everybody in here. We got a good selection. Wayne, what's going on, buddy? I love it when I see some faces where it's been a little bit. Adam, what's going on? Been a little while, right on. I appreciate you, man, for being here, for helping us keeping on. So I was gonna say the last thing I'll say, but unless anybody has some, you know, important questions. Oh, Morning Driftwood, hello. Scottish are we, or are we taking a vote in parliamentary procedure? You know, what was I gonna say? Oh, the video that I made. I decided, guys, to put $100. Oh, Luke is the president of Sacramento Club. Okay, cool. Right on. He's a good dude. I love Luke. He is a very kind soul, and he wants to do the right thing, wants to help people, and he will overexert himself if you let him. He's one of those kind people that can get run over by life. And I always want to tell him, like, dude, just tell people to pump the brakes. You're handling 5 things at once. Anyways, I was gonna say, I was gonna show you guys this too. So let me show you what happens when you don't pay to play with Google. Found this a little interesting. Yeah, here's a nice little illustration of something. You see this? How many new subscribers was I averaging a day? Yeah, I was losing 12 and gaining about 15. So gaining about 3 subscribers a day with 200,000 viewers. For some reason, I've been stuck at 95,000 for 6 months. Not 6 months, like 4 months. But stuck there, just floating there, right? I give them they wanted $8 a day for 12 days or whatever it is to do an ad campaign on my last video. And they're like, see how it will help your video, try out promotion. So I did this a while back and it made everything screwy. And I was like, never again. Well, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna try it one more time. So I'm being straight with you guys. So I try it. I put $100 down for the next 2 weeks to promote that video. All of a sudden, they show it to the 100,000 subscribers ish that we have. 50% saw that video. So 50% saw it, whereas my last 6 videos, less than 5% of my subscribers, less than 5,000 even got shown that the video was ever made as a thumbnail. And yeah, the hype points, your videos have come up for me lately too with hype points. Oh, okay. I don't know how hype points work, but thanks. I think. I mean, I don't really know anything about that yet. I should know more about that. But it's like I don't want to play their games half the time. But my point is, now I have 700 subscribers, new subscribers in a day from Google. This isn't some third-party buy subscribers scam. This is just showing my damn videos to people who put fish and pets as their interests. So it makes me so frustrated. All of a sudden, I'm seeing comments from people that I haven't seen in years that I thought were gone off YouTube. And they're like, hey, I hadn't seen your video in forever. And I had to pay Google $100 just to make that happen. So do I have to give Google 1/3 of whatever I'm making to make the money that I should be making? I don't know. That is just insane to me and drives me up a freaking wall. It's so wrong. They say they don't paywall stuff or they don't hold things down. But it is, you're really right, Steven. Have you thought about switching platforms while YouTube's figuring out their crap? Yeah, I've thought about like SideStack or is that Substack, and also take care. Have a good one. And yes, I am doing better with the new doctor. the new doctor care. My foot has healed from being 1.5 inches deep all the way straight to the bone. That's a nasty wound. To now it is less than 0.4 centimeters deep, which is great. Like it's like, I don't know, a 1/6 of an inch deep or 1/8 of an inch deep. So it's basically my skin right below the callus on my heel. It's yay big. There's pictures in my most recent, second most recent video. If you're interested, at the end, towards the end of the video, I put up a warning, but yeah, you can see that, like, basically now the heel, I'm having to not walk on it because I need to regain the callus or the skin before the callus can finally grow back together. But yeah, it's turned into pay to play. Substack, I don't know its limitations. It does have video, but it's limited in ways, you know. And the other thing is, like, I know I need to do more shorts in YouTube world. Like, that's something that is definitely needed if I want to play their game. But more than anything, I wanted to tell you guys that if you are here still, if you're able to find me through all of this crap, you know, First Class Fish, what is going on? Good to see you too. And thank you so much for the super chat. That is so kind. I really appreciate it. I do. Thank you kindly. Also, Ken said something, and I forgot to shout out the fact that he's 64 freaking months of support. That's insanity. Ken's my way back. He's my ride or die buddy. My Portland, well, just out of Portland. Still debating on Findig. Catfish deal in Seattle this year. I want to drive 9 hours to Findig. Yeah, the catfish deal, I think it'll be all right. I think that'll be fun. I don't know how great. I don't know if it'll be great or anything. I don't think it'll be anything interesting. I don't think we're having any special, like, you know, banquet hall events or, you know, craziness, hotel shenanigans that goes down sometimes with some of the, like, multi-day events. But I could be wrong. But I kind of think because it's the first year that might not happen. Whereas ADA or AGA in Sacramento, I think there'll be people hanging out, you know, sipping on drinks, chatting, taking their herbal remedies, you know, whatever is your speed, being sober and talking about fish like a nerd, whatever speed you're into. At those, there tend to be people, you know, someone in a group of rooms, you know, there's a hospitality room for a reason in those gatherings. And so I'm leaning towards, like, going to both, but I do enjoy the, like, social aspect of a big gathering. And Seattle just hasn't had one since AGA, and that, like, AGA of 2019 or 18, whatever it was, Kenny, where you and I were, was it 17 maybe? I don't remember what year that was. But whatever year that was, we still didn't have, like, a big gathering of people because of there were several places to stay rather than one central place. But I think Sacramento will be fun, for several reasons along those lines. Also, Johnny, thank you again, buddy, for the super sticker. Really do appreciate that. And Jan, thank you so much for saying that. I do appreciate it. I do. Super chat. You guys have been very generous today, and I do appreciate it. I was gonna say though, funny comment here. Yeah. Wait, you can keep fish without, yeah. I don't have any, like, as somebody who quote unquote lives sober, I don't care if my wife uses that for several reasons, for health, like, you know, pain and stuff, every month. And more power to people. I don't care what people do. I don't care if you drink every day. Just, You got to be responsible for yourself and be a decent human. That's the only reason I don't like it, is when it gets in the way of that, especially when you know people can be way better. And that's the only thing holding them back. That's what's hard to see. But what I was going to say is thank you, all you guys, for contributing. But I'm going to get out of here soon because I'm getting tired. But I was going to say also, Mary Kay, also, thank you so much for becoming a member. Right on. Welcome aboard. Go to the community tab and the posts tab. You scroll back through there, you'll see posts that you hadn't been able to see ever before. The playlist that says podcast or podcast friendly, there's 2 different playlists, but those will have 200 episodes. Some of them are in format where they'll say like episode 98, 99, 100, and then that'll be one episode that's 30 minutes, but it's actually 3 10-minute episodes. But all those were done with the idea that you could listen to them in the car without having to watch. Now, a lot of them have visuals. If they're in after episode, say 80 maybe or 100, they have visuals. So I am saying something or I am on screen. The earliest ones literally might just be like me talking and that's it. But the later ones, I try to include any relevant visuals that I happen to have for those people who are watching as well. Anyways, so what I was going to say though is the fact that I paid to play, and now that video that I just made has 9,000 views. Before that, it was stalled at 1,200, and I didn't pay on that video. So all the channel rose view-wise. It's like if I wasn't paying Google for something, they weren't allowing subscribers to get notifications from the whole channel, other than those of you hardcore folks who come here religiously for live streams or have all the alerts on, and you come here and you comment. And I don't know what you guys are doing to get told about each live stream. And those of you who are here so often, there is also, you can become a member of the Discord for totally free now. And that will alert you when there's a live stream or when there's a new video. A lot of people have been saying that that's how they've been getting their uploads. Yeah, see, I wonder, Mike, I wonder if those statistics, if they're lying to me too. I wonder if they're just, like you say, if they're just giving me, for instance, if they're going to give me 600 subscribers by manipulating. What I actually think is going on, here's, like, I've thought about it a lot. I think what they're doing is they're allowing bots to exist, knowing they're bots. And when bots are trying to hide their activity, they subscribe to any channel. And I think what Google is doing is like quarantining the bots and not letting them see certain stuff or not recommending stuff once they categorize it as that. And I think they're then unleashing these useless, worthless channels for the people who pay to play. So it pads your numbers and it pads your views, but the amount of time watched sucks. The amount of other things watched sucks as a whole. But that being said, those people who are real, it does open up like more alerts or more doors for them. And that's what's interesting, is that Google actually does make it worth your while, where you make more money. If you pay $200, your channel will probably do better $300 worth. And that's, I think, not true for every channel, but I think in the case of my channel that they're literally like throttling it back. By looking at my statistics, I can see that literally only 5 to 10% of my subscribers with alerts on get notified of a video that's made. That number several years ago used to be about 50%. if that 50% reacts strongly, that number could get as high as 80% of my subscriber count watching the video. Now that would never happen. I'd never get 80,000 views in a week or something. So yeah, it's interesting. Also, Google's the people that Google supposedly steers to your content, a lot of them don't leave comments, and that's very suspicious too. The other thing is, I had at one point like 97,000 subscribers back in like October. Like I went boom, like I mean something like 2,000 in a day. Very crazy growth. And then all of a sudden 2 days later they were gone, and it was like we've had to delete some fraudulent account activity that went on. We're sorry that your analytics did not properly reflect this information. But I think literally, like I said, that they're letting bots come in and be your friend / subscribe / comment or whatever they do, just so that it looks like when you pay them, oh wow, all these people are seeing it. But it's interesting because it does actually bring in some new legitimate real people with that, but nowhere near probably your money's worth, right? But if you fake growth with the channel and pay Google $1,000 a month or whatever, if you're creating good content and promoting the video, that is how like everyone in the business now says that you should start your channel up, is like do that, do collaborations and cross collaborations, and do shorts that link to those. Like there's a set game plan if you want to play the game, but I just I don't do that. Yeah, so yeah, there are there are a lot of cringy videos that have millions of views, and sometimes you're like, what? That had no info in it. That was not good. No, there's no way anyone watched that. And granted, thumbnails have become like the new battle space, right? That's the new fight for attention, is all over thumbnails. But yeah. So anyways, I was gonna say that I threw the $100 in, and I wanted to see what would happen this time around. And so we'll see if my channel gets smashed again after this 2-week period of me promoting my channel through their dumb ad system. Then I'll never do it again, obviously. But I wanted to know that if I have videos in the oven ready to go, they're pre-cooked, and I'm releasing those as the viewers are kind of snowballing, even whether they're real or not. I don't know whether they get taken away in a week or not. Will I get some legitimate? I just want some legitimate people to know I exist. How hard is that to happen, right? Because as this channel has grown, I have the same amount of y'all active in the community at 100,000 subscribers as I did at 20,000 subscribers, as I did at 50, as I did at 10. That doesn't make sense, right? It should be like, oh, there's too many people to keep track of. I can't do it. And sure, I've been at there's too many people to keep track of levels for a long time, but I still try, and I'm just saying it doesn't scale like that. So it's very interesting how that's going. And when people like your channel 10 years ago and they're still on YouTube, like everyone still has a YouTube account, 10 years later to watch things, but maybe they're not into fish anymore. Does that hurt your channel? The fact that so many people get out of fish keeping and that they were at one point watching a ton of your stuff and then they totally stop. Does that make the fish content look like it just sucks? Like these people all used to watch your stuff, and now, 30% of them don't watch any fish stuff anywhere. So I wonder, if the algorithm takes any of that into consideration, because most people will quit the hobby within a year. That's just unfortunately how it goes. You exist more than we do, as there is far more proof of your existence than we have. Aquatic News Network. Interesting theory there. I like that. I get the feeling people or corporations are just setting up and boosting many channels at once, and then they just let them burn out. So yeah, so quick bursts and lots of them chum the water and repeat. Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's that going on as well. Hey, Sir Alexander Jedediah Moonflower Williamson. Oh, buddy, good to see you. Yeah, I get it. You busy season. I got it. It's all good. I'll be looking out for you though when you are around. I hope my freaking all alerts on for your channel tell me when you're around, content wise and stuff. Or if you're around here, just tell me like, hey, I have a new video out. You know, I try anybody who's part of my community, I try to go see what they're up to too. But you guys, I'm gonna get out of here because I'm pushing 2 hours and my wife's gonna be home soon and I still need to do some chores. But I do appreciate all of y'all, and you can't roller skate in the buffalo herd, I suppose. I mean, that was kind of the model of how the episode formed today. Hello, Mira. What is up? The Fish Fam Discord never sends me alerts. Yeah, go to my Discord if you want alerts from my channel. It'll tell you when there's new content or a live stream, when there's new videos or a live stream. I hope it doesn't give you shorts alerts. That's annoying. I might be able to turn that off otherwise. Hey, thank you so much. You guys, that's very nice. Critter Style, that is very kind of you. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Yeah, you know, I will try to get another stream in more than once a week. Last 2 weeks were once, but life has been good, but just, you know, busy. And then when the energy and the time that I usually stream had just not been working out. So maybe expect the unexpected. A couple streams might just pop up and maybe they'll be good. Maybe we'll see some folks that we haven't seen for a while, but you know, thank you so much. I appreciate your support, all of y'all. And just if you're watching, I so appreciate those of you who are here week in and week out and just contributing. That means so much to me, and it really does. And it makes, like, the video that I just made about can bettas eat peas. Oh no, I thought I told people the wrong thing. I literally thought that I told a bunch of people something that was going to kill all their fish. I had like an existential meltdown for about 30 seconds. And I was like, wait, AI says that peas are going to kill bettas and that they can't digest them and that they'll literally like rupture their stomach and die. And then, oh my goodness, Reddit says that. And oh my goodness, Aquarium Co-op's forum people are saying that. And this pet vlog says it. And Tropical Fish Hobbyist editorial page says it. Like, all these sources said it. And I was like, oh crap, I've used that wives' tale for years, that you could mash up peas and garlic and give it to your constipated fish and it would help flush it through. Not all the time, like you do it once. And that would help flush through because they can't digest it. So it like washes through them, right? Well, then I think of it for a minute and I think of it and I click on the little, where did the info come from? Yeah, it's all forums. It's posts from Aquarium Co-op, not from them, from a user. And in the case of the Reddit post, an anonymous user with 1,000 interactions, and the interactions were saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, if peas were good or bad. Well, then you rephrase the question to Google and you say, what is the safe way to feed peas to a bloated fish? Ta-da, there's even a wiki how. Yes, this is one of the more gentle, safe ways to treat a bloated fish. Then I had to call up 2 fish veterinarians, the only 2 I know that I can get a hold of, that I try not to call for anything. Otherwise, I'd be bugging them all the time. And I walked through all of that in that video. If you guys are interested, I walked through that and how the forum, how you can have literally dozens of people who do know what they're talking about in most issues, going to references like Google, like ChatGPT, like tropical fish hobbyists, like big forums, right? And even editorials on all these pet blogs, all these stores that sell bettas, you know, botanical sellers and things. They have all this info on that. Who has the alternative? Oh, I didn't go into this in the video, but it's Metroplex and Fritz, because they think giving a gram-negative antibiotic and an antiparasitical is probably the best way to treat them, short of giving them a laxative. And that, you know, really time is what's going to clear them out before either one of those things. So what's interesting about all that, though, is that and then the combination of that, the fact that they're selling a solution. Now Google and AI, and Google's AI helper, which is not true AI, it's a large language model, it's just a search engine kind of thing. But the fact that it says don't ever feed your peas, they are obligate carnivores, do not feed your peas to the bettas, that is going hand in hand now with one of the people who's paying for advertising space and who is one of their sources as well. So I'm wondering, isn't that a conflict of interest, Google search? So then I go into, I'm still using Google, by the way, but I go to Google Scholars, which is at least peer reviewed. And we look it up there, and there's freaking studies since the 1950s of whether it's safe to feed fish, let alone betta. But yes, betta fish specifically. If you can feed them plant protein, insect protein, this kind of plant protein, that kind of plant protein, whatever. Very interesting how that all shook out. And I had fun making that video, and I hope lots of people see that video. But it's interesting right now that I promoted the channel, and that video was capping at 1,200 views. It went zoom when it first came out, and then literally they weren't showing it to anyone. Then I pay the corporate ransom that they're suggesting. Hey, this video did well early on. It's a great candidate for promoting your channel and featuring this video. So I said, sure, go ahead. Put the 100 down. And now it has 8,000 more views in, I mean, I'm just uncovering the scamminess of Google and YouTube insanely through that video on so many levels. I'll have to make another video showing these analytics of, you know, how bad this is. It's like corruption within a corrupt cycle, right? Anyways, yeah, can't fight big fish. That's right. Can't fight big anything. I mean, big data, they know everything about you. They know what fish you want before you bought it. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, totally. I agree with this comment here. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. The point of all that is I love making videos, but I still have to second guess myself on the dumbest things. You know, stuff that I think is common sense. I no longer assume that I know, because I could be wrong, right? There's certain things that you know intuitively, you've seen it a million times. The pea thing was one of those where I was like, I think I know, but maybe I don't. Like, I could be wrong. There's room for error there. I haven't cured a bunch of bettas with it. I've cured maybe a few dozen fish with that trick. And it's like, was it the peas or just feeding them, period? Or was it the fact that I moved them, aerated them, and fed them peas, and I'm misattributing it? So I thought in my head in that example that I had really effed up, and that I told some poor girl to do something that was going to kill her bettas. Well, then everyone tells me I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm an idiot, blah, blah, blah. And I asked them for sources. Nobody has sources, but they all have the same Bettas are obligate carnivores. Who says obligate carnivore? No one in their normal life, unless they're a biologist, right, or an ecologist, says obligate carnivore. And I saw that same quote 9 times in about an hour on Facebook. So I think about it, and as soon as I do the Google AI or the Google lookup thing, yeah, Grok also has problems. Google Scholar is okay. The thing is, go to Google Scholar, then go to the actual source. Don't just read it through the Google browser, or use a Google browser. I use DuckDuckGo anyways, but whatever. Grok also has filters and bias and stuff too. I like to use a VPN, get out of the whole freaking American ecosystem, and come at it from I'm a university student in, I don't know, India, somewhere that nobody cares about, Singapore. I don't mean it like that. Nobody's gonna I'm not gonna read about Chinese stuff from Singapore VPN, but I can read about fish stuff from a Singapore VPN. Anyways, yeah, we never stop learning, and that's a mystery of life. I agree, guys. All right, you guys, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for the generosity today, though, because like I said, if I'm going to fact check and research everything that I thought I already knew, it takes time. And I try to bring you guys good info. I really do. That's something I'm proud of. It's something that gives me a fix, It's the new way that I get my kicks, is by giving you guys good info and knowing that it's out there, adding to a better world rather than just adding to the echo chamber of BS that gets just repeated like a game of telephone, to the point where even the info gods and sorters can't recognize the static from the echo. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Don't roller skate in a buffalo herd, okay? Just don't. All right? I'll see you guys next time. Much love. Take care of yourself, because if you don't do that, you can't take care of the people you love. You can't take care of the things you love. Can't take care of your freaking fish tank. And you can't pay Google the $100 so you can make $200. Have a great night. Well, dang me.